أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى. As for the one who is in fear or in awe of the station of his Lord and forbids the self from going towards desires, indeed paradise is their abode. Hajj Wissam, it's a pleasure and honor to have you join us with the team for this podcast. Inshallah, we definitely know there's a lot to benefit from the knowledge that you've acquired through the many years.
I'm honored to be here and thank you for having me.
Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, today we wanted to discuss social media and specifically how it's affecting the youth. And with your background, you've been working in the community for quite a while now in different ways, in different capacity. And so, you know, you work and coach and mentor many different people. So I'm sure this is a topic that comes up a lot in terms of, you know, some of the issues that people face, especially the youth. If we look at the teenage years, that's something that comes up a lot and creates a lot of issues between the parents and the teenagers. And so there's like some type of power struggle. We notice that when it comes to social media. So to start us off, can you give us a little bit about, you know, what pros and cons do you see in social media?
Well, I mean, first of all, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think when you look at social media, it's an amazing platform. It's an amazing piece of technology that man has reached.
Yes.
If you want to look at the pros, there's many things that you could see. I remember when I was young, I was like, I think 7 years old, and I needed to go order some things for my dad. So I had to literally walk 3 miles just to tell the guy that my dad needed something and then walk 3 miles back. So when you look at what you can do in seconds now, which took so much time before, you can very easily see the positive end of it.
Yes.
And how it's promoted things to be so convenient for all of us. So the power of social media is just something amazing in terms of a connectivity between
Absolutely.
me and you, between someone I haven't seen for years to catch up on things. So the benefits are tremendous in terms of just the accomplishments of man. On the cons of it, this is where you really have to see, okay, where's the balance, and can we strike a balance with social media? And how is this happening? You know, is that even possible with what's happening today? So if we go into the cons a little bit and we start to dissect and see, let's go into the neural aspect of it and how it's connected. So when you look at nicotine, when you look at alcohol, when you look at gambling, these all three are connected to the same dopaminergic system that's in your brain, which holds about 400,000 cells. And it's got 4 wiring streams. Out of 100 billion cells in your brain, it's a very small system, but it's literally the reward system of the brain. So if you look at that, your cell phone, and every time you get a notification, you're getting kick a little dopamine inside your brain. And now you get the feel good aspect, the short-term reward. And it's little spurts. And that's every time you get a notification, every time your phone vibrates, every time you're connecting cues, and they become triggers that become wired to your brain. And it's constant. It's everywhere. Lose your phone for an hour. See what happens to you. See how many triggers you have around you that's connected to your phone.
Exactly.
So if you look at that, then you have to see. So if that's the case, it's connected to your dopaminergic system. And now let's take it a little further. At the end of the day, when a kid is growing up and they're moving towards, let's say, some issues that they're going to go through, and just like alcohol, drugs, any of these types of things, they're connected to the same system. So now, as the kid grows, you begin to understand, like, okay, am I supposed to connect to another human being, or do I connect to this little phone that I have that's inside my hand? And if we look at the results and how these things work, it's really, really incredible. Why? Because when you look at someone who's actually, let's say, got addicted to alcohol, they usually find it at a very young age. But they don't have the mental capacity to really understand the effects of it in long term.
Yes.
So because of these things, we have a limit on nicotine. We have a limit on gambling. And then we also have a limit on alcohol. Why? Because it's an immature mind consumes it, it's going to ruin that mind. So why do we have these limitations? But we don't have it on social media. That's connected to the same system inside the brain. So all I'm really doing when I'm giving my kid, let's say a parent, or a parent now, parents are just as addicted. So I'm literally opening up the cabinet for the alcohol. Let's say, inshallah, you don't have alcohol in your house. But what I'm really doing is doing that. And I'm telling the kid, here, splurge, have as much as you want. It's the same concept.
You're giving them the accessibility at all times.
It's there. And then we wonder why these kids can't put the phone down. So I was given a presentation not too long ago, and high school kids, and I asked them, what's your average screen time? And I took an average. And it was around 8.5 hours.
A day.
Think about that. That's more than a full-time job. You're staring at a screen. So when you look at these things, it's like, okay, what do we do? What do I do to actually get this kid off the system itself? So that addictive nature now is being programmed at a very young age. The kids are really addicted at many different levels. So if you want to look at that, then say to yourself, okay, so what do we do? What do we do? And this is the question.
Excellent. So to kind of go deeper into social media, in of itself, it's neither bad or good, like in of itself. It just depends on how you use it. And you mentioned that balance is the best way. So that if you are going to use it, or if you're going to allow someone, a dependent, to use it, like a son or a daughter, then it should be done in a balanced manner. No extremes, right? You shouldn't completely deny them that right. I mean, especially nowadays, it seems so hard. There are parents that try to implement that, where they try to take away completely, but then it's like you're putting them around individuals who all have phones, and so there's struggle there. Sure. And then to give it to them and completely let them go, and they are immature. They may be immature at certain ages. Then you're also, putting them in danger. Sure. So there's this middle path. So practically, I guess, how can we go about creating this balanced lifestyle?
So we have to first define balance in terms of what is that balance? Is it just giving my kid who's 10 years old, giving him full access to the internet and social media? Is that balance? Does that strike the balance? Or is it when they turn 18, 19, 20? Okay, do I allow them? So it's really based on the responsibility factor of what the kid can handle. So kids at 7 years old begin to feel regret. They understand the concept of regret. Interesting. So when a kid doesn't understand that concept, how do you introduce them to a cell phone? Some kids are literally less than 7 years old. They already know they want a cell phone. They ask their mom, please give me a cell phone. Yes. This is what I want for my birthday. So they don't even have the understanding of what regret is. And then we're giving them cell phones. So the responsibility factor here comes in at play, because you're the mature adult. You understand the dangers of this device and what can come out of it. Now, do I hand this to a young child in terms of what they have? Or the balance, do I take it completely away? Do I remove it? Do I completely remove them from the societal aspect of it? Yes. It really, that's something of an application aspect. So it's a very difficult thing to say, listen, here's a person that can handle things and here's a person who can't. It's a situational aspect, first of all. Second thing is, if the kid can actually, let's say, handle a phone, not many kids can handle phones. Okay. So what you need to do, don't allow the phone to go into the room if you're going to give them a phone. Don't allow it to go to the restroom. Okay. They can't take it to school. Okay. They can't. There's so many things. You could put so many limitations on things. If you can strike the right balance with the kid, and they can actually utilize they have the discipline that can for the responsibility at hand, then give.
I want to ask you a question, just to piggyback off what you're saying. How important is the relationship the parent has with their child in terms of how effective this discipline is going to be?
I mean, this is where the parent is kind of running into an issue here, because now do I become their friend and kind of give them what they want? Or
that's the expectation,
yes.
If you're going to be their friend.
So, I mean, again, it depends on the age. In terms of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says 777. So at 14, my daughter, when she's cooking, I'm doing the dishes. She doesn't put something in the fridge. I go put it in the fridge and I tell her, thank you.
You tell her thank you.
I tell her thank you.
Even though you put it.
I tell her thank you. I use the reward aspect. I use the same reward system in terms of the dopamine.
Interesting.
Okay, so and these kinds of things, instead of becoming a critic, back off and be creative with your attention to my daughter, to your son, to your kid. Even if they want to do the social media, okay, everyone's got it. Okay, what I do, I literally 10 o'clock at night, let's go in the car. Me and my daughter will drive for 2 hours. We'll just talk. We just talk. And she loves it. She just starts talking. Okay. Create that relationship. I don't care if she wants to go at 2 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter. That's her time. If I give her an ear that can really listen to her pain, whatever she's going through, and I'm actually there. I'm there for her. That child, that connection that you create and that bond between you, that child, that becomes your little trigger or your key to everything, because the child doesn't want to let go. That attachment is there. Children are not attached to their parents these days because their time is not given. So the second that attachment is there, the kid becomes scared to lose that. Now, when my daughter comes home, she says, Baba, how are you? She doesn't want to disappoint me. How's your day? What'd you do today? She asked me, but it's a concerned heart. Why? Because the attachment, that bond is there. But when the bond is not there, the father's not there, or the mother's not there, they're both busy at work and they're doing it. Now, what's going to happen? Where's that attachment? The kid's going to feel lonely, depressed. And we've gone now to these levels. We've hit the mass homicides that are happening in schools. Suicide rates have just jumped through the roof. All this stuff is because of what? The technological, lonely aspect of what we become as a society. So we're promoting, we're pushing, yes. But where's that attachment? Where's the connection between you and your kid? Do you sit there and take the time? Some of my mentors, and some of them are here. Okay, I remember at 2:30 in the morning, we'd stay up. And he would tell me, okay, repeat. How could you not understand that moment when that person is doing something for you that's literally just for you? It's for you, but it creates a bond. It creates something. It does something to the brain in terms of, now I cannot disappoint this person. And even if I disappoint them, if I do something, the regret is too much.
Yes.
Those components now are missing. So what do you expect the kid to do? You expect them not to go to the phone? Because now when I'm connected in the dopamine aspect of it. So what do you think happens when the kid gets addicted to alcohol when they're very young? You think later on in life they're going to go to a person or they're going to go to the bottle? It's a coping mechanism. So same thing with social media. Do you think they're going to go to the phone or they're going to go to you? Where's the stronger bond? Is the phone the father or the mother? Or are you the father or the mother? Which has a stronger bond? Awesome. Ask yourself that. And if you really want to check yourself, see how much time you give your kids versus the 7 or 8 hours they're spending on their phone. Check that. It's very simple. And you'll see where the bond is.
That's very like profound, honestly, to think about. That's a lot of time. That's 1/3 of the day that
It's a job. It's a full-time
that
job.
someone is spending, and then to kind of like move towards emerging adults, because we kind of addressed the younger teenagers, but how about the older ones, the ones in their late teens, early 20s, the emerging adults, and what are some of the struggles they face with social media?
Well, I mean, once they hit a certain level, and we're seeing a lot of things now that are happening with the emerging. So emerging adults is from 18 to 25. And once a kid hits that age, they're like literally in between so many things. And the teenage years are dangerous, but this age is still dangerous.
Yes.
They get a little more cognitive ability, but it's still a dangerous age. So direction here becomes extremely important. And what we're seeing, a lot of it is there's a detachment from a lot of things, and there's no fear. There's no fear. There's literally no fear of, okay, if I'm going to do this there's no fear. I'm going to approach, and there's nothing that's going to stop me. So we're seeing a lot of these things. But you also, like, as we talked about the suicide race,
Yes.
I've just literally just gone through the roof. And if you look back, literally from 2010 when the iPhone was invented, look back when the suicide rates started going up. So when we begin to see these things, and these are clear things. So when you get the notification, as we talked about earlier,
The dopamine kick.
and now you're connecting it to this system, and this brain can't handle it. What do you think is going to happen to this kid? Now, the kid is a problem. The millennials, in terms of what we're talking about, this is a huge problem, because now they're going into the workplace, and they've actually done studies, and older people usually don't have their phone around them, or it's far away from them. You know what they found in terms of the millennials, in terms of what they have? They actually have their phone as they're working right in between their hands. And they don't have no capacity for long term. They can't delay the gratification. Because now if I want to order something, Amazon, you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I want to watch something. Do I have to go to the movie ticket and see when the times are playing? No, just click. It's on demand. Everything is right there. Instant gratification. I'm being socialized to what I want, I can have in a second. So now that's even more dangerous in terms of the social media aspect.
Definitely.
And so that's happening in terms of, now, what do you do with this person who doesn't want to work, doesn't have the stamina, doesn't have the resiliency? And as soon as something hits now, and now you're facing a few things, not once, responsibility gets a little higher. Maybe you get married and you have kids, and now you're having trouble in your marriage. You're having trouble at your work. You're having trouble, you're not praying, you're not doing certain things. What do you, now when the life hits at that level, where are you going to go? What spot, what corner of the mind are you going to go to where you're going to get this softness in your heart, where you feel like life is just gotten you by the neck and you can't move, you feel so helpless? Where are you going to go? Who's going to talk to you then? And especially when the world leaves you, unless you get betrayed by your friends, what's going to happen at that level? Who are you going to go to? Now you see financial giants, but you also see people who are spiritual infants. And I'm not saying, we all need to do more in the spiritual realm, all of us. But if you haven't really worked on yourself, this is the month. The shaitan is putting away everything. You want to see who you are. You really want to see your habits? Okay? See what you start to move towards in this month. Because there's no effect. It's only your nafs.
Ahsant.
On that level, check. If it's your phone, if you want to go to certain events, check your own habitual system and those diseased habits that are now inside your mind that you don't have any control over. You don't have that suggestive habit comes when you have to make a decision. You meet your demons at that point. And now that suggestive habit just what? Announces its message. And now, because the dopamine hits, it hits your heart. And now you have a drive. And I'm looking at myself and I'm saying, you know what? No, I shouldn't do that. I know my mind is telling me no. But my heart, because I got literally hit that suggestive diseased habit that I've impregnated into myself. It's inside of me, but I can't do anything about it. It's a demonic figure inside my own mind. And what are you going to do with that? Especially from social media to all these things. So now you have to build the strength to be able to shut these things off. You have to build mechanisms. And it's much harder. But this is the month to do it. This is the time where you could put everything away. Say, Ya Allah, I'm here. I'm in front of you. I'm beyond weak. I don't have a chance. I don't. If you leave me to me, I don't have a chance. But I know when I submit to you, there's nothing I cannot accomplish. Nothing. No area in my heart you cannot reach. Open it up for me. And just submit. Literally, I tell my daughter, if you have anything that's wrong, find a quiet place and go into sujood. Just go into for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and say, Allah, help me. Help me. No matter what's going on with you. It doesn't matter what's happening to you. Find that place in your heart where you can submit. And especially in this month.
Ahsant. Ahsant. This ties back into the verse that I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, where the Quran, it says, the one who forbids the self, right, from going towards desire. And honestly, that's ultimately the goal with taqwa. I mean, taqwa is to be God wary. And in order to be God wary, you need to be disciplined. When you are faced with a situation where you can either do that which is right or that which is wrong, you have the discipline, even though your desire is leading you to that which is wrong, to hold back. And so, very beautifully, in the Quran, in regards to this month, when it comes and it says, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامِ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And it's such a beautiful verse that fasting was prescribed for you, so perhaps you may gain this taqwa. And now with this fasting, and we all know when we fast in Shahr Ramadan, it's amazing because it's like you feel so much more strength, and you feel like you can say no to a lot of more things, right?
Yes, because you're a lot more aware.
Ahsant.
And you're aware of your tongue, you're aware of what you're hearing, you're aware of all these things. So the beauty of this month is, to me, it's Allah is constantly giving you gifts. It's constant.
Always.
It's constant.
al-fadl.
So I mean, I'd like to say something here because I think it's really, really beautiful once we enter these realms. I think the most beautiful thing when you can really talk to yourself at a different level and see. When you talk about this verse, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ, and the one who fears the state of his Lord, the person who looks and is God conscious, that taqwa. And I was watching something not too long ago, and what can we do? Let's say we are in a situation, and Ya Allah, I'm actually fasting. I'm fasting, but my habit is stronger than me. My fast is not strong enough. So my heart is moving towards deviance, and I'm fighting so hard. What do I do? Ya Allah, I'm trying. My heart is so sincere, but my temptation is stronger than me, and I don't have the will. I don't. And I'm about to fail. What do I do? What do I do? When you look at certain things like Dua Kumel, Ya man ismuhu dawa, wa dhikruhu shifa, wa ta'atahu ghina. When you start looking at these things, I guarantee you, if these things come into your heart the right way, and they program your heart, and that moment that you need those small little verses, they will hit your brain so hard, and they will hit your heart even harder. And when you need that strength, and you're right on the brink, and you're about to do something you don't want to do. At that moment, if you've downloaded those things properly, if you've downloaded the algorithm of the Quran properly, that is tied to your own algorithm that Allah has programmed perfectly. Watch what kind of strength happens at that moment. So Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, a person came to him and he says, I'm addicted to eating mud. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, this is the strength of willing men. He says, this is, you hold back, you push back as strong as you, that's that mental muscle. That's the discipline that we talked about. When I don't want to allow the self to what? Indulge itself into what it wants. And I tell it, no. Come back. This is my control. And let's go, now that's the Quran. وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ. Let's go to Imam Ali alayhi salam. And he's describing one of his companions in Nahj al-Balagha. He says, وَكَانَ إِذَا بَدَهَهُ أَمْرَيْنِ يَنْظُرُ أَيُّهُمَا أَقْرَبُ إِلَى الْهَوَى فَيُخَالِفُهُ. He says now he's confronted with a decision. I see my demon. He's right in front of me. And he's calling me. Come, I'm right here. Taste this. Where Imam Ali couldn't break a piece of bread. Bread is tempting. It's the worldly aspect. Couldn't break a piece of bread, but he can lift what?
The gates
of Khaybar alayhi salam. Why? That's a spiritual strength. That's the strength you want to be after. Not that, see, subhanAllah, not the temptation. You bring his name, everything moves. But not the temptation that he couldn't break a piece of bread. How do you get to that level where your heart is so submissive to you? And now when he's confronted with a decision and he looks at which one is closer to desire. Which one? Is it this or that? He gives you a perfect algorithm, a perfect way to make decisions on any level, any place, no matter where you're at. He gives you the system. He gives you a process. Look at which one is closer to desire, then go against it. But now pull on that mental muscle. Pull on that and see if you have that. And if you fail, no problem. Say, Ya Allah, I come back to you. Like Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he says in Dua Kumail, he says, what does he say? Ataytuka ya Rabbi. I've come to you. Munkasira. I'm broken. Muniba. Mu'tarifa. I'm admitting to you, Ya Allah. I'm repentant. Now your heart goes into submission and watch the emotions you taste. That's ladda. That temptation that you went after can never let you taste that. When you taste the taste of Iman, that pleasure. No social media app, no phone, nothing in this world will touch your heart like the touch of this month and the pleasure, the emotions
of the worship,
the taste of worship.
Hassan, that's actually like in Imam Zain al-Abidin mentions it in one of his prayers from what I remember, right? You know, how can the one who tasted the pleasure
Hassan,
of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you know, there's nothing else that can ever come close to that.
Hassan.
And inshallah, to conclude, I wanted you to give us like a final practical, especially for the emerging adults, you know, something practical in terms of dealing with social media. I'm just going to share something before you mention, but I remember I was watching this speaker talk about social media, and you know, in social media you're always like exposed to this distorted reality because everyone on social media seems always so perfect and happy, right?
Yes.
And so no one ever like boasts and flaunts the unfortunate events in their life. And so what you tend to see is the good things. And so in your mind, you look at all these individuals and you say, they're all going through, you know, great blessings, but why am I the only one facing this struggle?
Yes.
Right? And when I was watching this, I remember this beautiful hadith attributed to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in which he says, the one who looks man nadhara ila ma fi aidi an-nas tala huznuhu. The one who looks and to what others have, you know, his sorrow will be everlasting and it will prolong. And so this is something that, you know, like our own prophet, you know, has kind of talked to us about. when you're constantly exposing yourself to what everyone else has, that's bound to make you compare yourself. Why don't I have what this person has? And so maybe you can give us something practical to avoid these kind of endless cycles where you're like constantly looking and comparing yourself, and then it makes you feel jealous at times. So maybe you can, inshallah, conclude the podcast with some of your advice.
Well, I mean, that's one of the major issues is comparison in terms of the social media aspect, because you see so much happening in front of you, and but comparison can be very deadly, because the measurement can be a supreme measurement or an inferior measurement. So let's say I think I'm better than others. I have, let's say I want to flaunt myself, my own, physicality. I can very easily look at myself and say, I'm doing this for me. I don't want the reactions, but there's a validation that you need constantly, and that becomes your drug. But on that level, there's a superior, comparison. There's an inferior comparison. So in this month, I challenge you to be an individual. Find your own uniqueness, your own comparison to your own self that's in the future. That should be your challenge. You shouldn't look out to the outside world. See what person you want to build, what character you want to build in 5 years.
So setting goals
for your own self, that measurement should be you against you every day. It shouldn't be you against anybody else. Okay, compete. I'm not talking about anything where it's competition. We're not talking about that. We're talking about those insecurities that you may have. So if you look at the superior aspect, go to the Quran really quickly. Who compared himself to Adam?
Iblis.
Now, Qabil and Habil.
Yes.
Same, inferior, superior. But what does Imam Ali alayhi salam say? He says, Al-qana'atu malun la, in terms of, it's contentment is a wealth that never exhausts itself. So on that level, if you're really content, do you compare?
No.
It's another medicine for the heart. So if you stop looking at what...
Because if you are content,
you're satisfied.
You're not looking at what others have.
Yes.
It's your relationship between you, yourself, and Allah. That whatever you have given me, oh Allah, I'm content with.
Hassan. So on that level, let's say a person, in terms of social media, can't think of what you're scrolling every single second, every single minute. You're constantly
information.
It's overload.
Yes.
And now your mind is actually being programmed.
Hassan.
Comparison. Look what they have. But look at this. If you want to do some research, those people that committed suicide, go look at their pages. See how happy they look.
Exactly. Yeah.
See how amazing their life is.
And that's become the gauge of happiness. You said it.
You see what I'm saying? But most of these people that actually committed suicide, they look amazing on social media. And it's so to tell you that that's not it. You've missed the point. To want others to need validation from the outside world is you missed the point. You missed it. So that tranquility, that satisfaction can only come from one place. That's a place in your heart that you have to search for. And only you can find it. No one else can enter with you and find it. The second you begin to go to the inside, begin to reflect. Maybe somebody dies in your family. Maybe somebody they betray you really badly. And then you begin to reflect. You begin to think, man, where am I going? Why is this happening to me? And I start to think about life. Where did I come from? These simple little questions. And then you begin to ask yourself, okay, you know what? Whoever did that to me, I'm fine. But what am I doing with me? What am I doing? What I took this action last week. I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I yelled at my mom. Maybe I yelled at my dad. Maybe I missed prayer intentionally. I didn't care. Where's your heart going? Where's every decision you make? That dopamine system is activated. Whatever thought you allow to win in that decision gets the dopamine, and it becomes more part of you. So this month, if you want some advice, stop the comparison. Become a man or a woman and see if you can really hold yourself to be into your own individuality and find your voice and see who you are and see what makes up your character. And let's, when the challenge comes, can you stand up? As the firemen, they walk towards the fire and everybody's running away. Can you be that person when your temptation calls? Can you be that person that steps up and says, come on, I'm right here. And if I lose 1,000 times, I'm still going to get right back in your face. And I'm not going to give up. If you can do that, if you can really build your will to that extent, this month, which is an amazing month to start doing it, that comparison,
perfect month for this.
That comparison, you know what? You look at another person, you say, yeah, no, this person has so much, give them more. But I'm the one who's rich. I'm satisfied. Ya Allah, what you've given me is emotional richness. What you've given them, maybe it's financial, maybe they have kids, but what you give me is contentment in my heart. That's the true currency you want to trade with. Nothing else. Nothing else matters. When you're emotionally rich, you can be financially impoverished, and it doesn't matter. You won't even blink an eye. You're content. Your heart is at peace. You have calmness, tranquility, stillness. When the fear hits, you're at a state of peace. While everybody's running away from the fire,
you're running towards it.
You're stepping forward. That's character.
Hajj, thank you for all that you've given us. But is there something like in terms of a program that if somebody wants to follow a step-by-step that you can recommend during this holy month?
There's plenty of programs, especially in this month. And there's something that we have a 5-step process. And if you'd like, I'd be more than happy to share it, but I'm not sure if we have enough time.
Inshallah, we can do another episode where you can share with us the 5-step process.
I'd love to.
We'd greatly appreciate you sharing that with us. Thank you, Hajj, for everything you have given us today. We greatly appreciate it. And inshallah, everyone can stay tuned for the next episode where Hajj Wissam will be sharing with us the 5-step process or program that he referred to. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.